Good morning, students. In the next theorem, we will prove that finite direct product of nilpotent groups is nilpotent. So, let us take H1, H2, H3 up to Hn be nilpotent groups. We prove that their direct product is nilpotent. To prove this, let us use induction on N. So first of all, let us take N is equal to 2. So we proved that direct product of two nilpotent groups is nilpotent. So let us take H and K are two nilpotent groups. One of the nilpotency class C1 and other of nilpotency class C2. So by definition, we have a central series for H as well as K. So let us take the central series for H is given by H is equal to H naught, contains H1, contains H2 and so on, contains HC1, where HC1 is the identity of group H. This is the central series for H, and therefore the commutator of H with Hi will be contained in Hi plus 1 for every I where I varies from 0 to C1 minus 1. Also, K is nilpotent of nilpotency class C2. So we have central series for K also, and it is given by K is equal to K naught contains K1, contains K2, contains K3 and so on, contains KC2 is equal to identity. E2 is the identity of K. This is the central series for the group K, and therefore the commutator of K with Kj is contained in Kj plus 1. This is true for every j varying from 0 to C2 minus 1. Now let us take C is the maximum of C1 and C2. Then by adding repeated terms, we can write the central series for H and K, which are given by H is equal to H naught, contains H1, contains H2 and so on, contains Hc is equal to identity of the group H. And for K, we have K is equal to K naught, contains K1, contains K2 and so on, contains Kc is equal to E2. E2 is identity of K. These are the central series for H and K respectively. Now, because Hi plus 1 is a subgroup of Hi and Ki plus 1 that is a subgroup of Ki, and therefore their direct product is a subgroup of Hi cross Ki. For our convenience, let us take the notations G denoted by H cross K and Gi is equal to Hi cross Ki. Then Gi plus 1 is a subgroup of Gi. Now for I is equal to 0, we have the value of G naught, which is H naught cross K naught. H naught is H, K naught is K. So G naught becomes H cross K. H cross K is G, so G naught is J. And for I is equal to C, from here GC is equal to HC cross KC. And this is the ordered pair E1, E2. So we can consider a series for the group G given by G is equal to G naught, contains G1, contains G2, contains G3 and so on, contains GC is equal to identity of G. Now we have to prove that this series is a central series for the group G. For this, we show that the commutator of G with Gi is contained in Gi plus 1, and this is true for every I varying from 0 to C minus 1. In order to prove this, let us take an arbitrary element from the group G and one from the group Gi. So we have taken X from the group G. Because G is the Cartesian product of H with K, so X will be of the form of ordered pair in which first element will be from H and the second will be from K. So let us take H belonging to the group H and K belonging to the group K. So the ordered pair formed by HK that belongs to H cross K. This element we have denoted by X. Now, second we have taken Y belonging to the group Gi. Gi is the Cartesian product of Hi with Ki. So Y will also be of the form of ordered pair in which first element we have taken from Hi and second we have taken from Ki. Now let us find the commutator of these two elements X and Y. By definition, commutator of X and Y, that is given by X inverse Y inverse XY. Substituting the values of X and Y here, X is the ordered pair HK, Y is the ordered pair HI/KI. Now let us find the value of this expression. The inverse of ordered pair HK, that can be written as the ordered pair formed by H inverse and K inverse. The inverse of ordered pair HI/KI, this is the ordered pair formed by Hi inverse and Ki inverse. And these two ordered pairs we have taken as it is. Now this expression can further be written as the ordered pair formed by the elements H inverse, Hi inverse, HHI and K inverse, Ki inverse, KKI. Now by definition, this expression is the commutator of H with Hi, and this is the commutator of the element K with Ki. Now, because the commutator of H with Hi, this belongs to the commutator of the group H with Hi, and commutator of H with Hi, that is contained in Hi plus 1. Also, because the element K belongs to the group K and Ki belongs to Ki, and therefore this commutator belongs to the commutator of K with Ki, and commutator of K with Ki is contained in Ki plus 1, and therefore we can say that the ordered pair formed by these two elements that will belong to the Cartesian product of these two groups. So we can say that the commutator of X with Y belongs to Hi plus 1 cross Ki plus 1, and this was arbitrary element taken from this group. So we have proved commutator of G with Gi is contained in Gi plus 1, and this is true for every I varying from 0 to C minus 1. So this proves that the series 3 is a central series for the group G, and therefore by definition we can say that the group G is nilpotent group. So we have proved the result for n is equal to 2. Means we have proved direct product of two nilpotent groups is nilpotent. Now, as an induction step, let us assume that the direct product of n minus 1 nilpotent groups is nilpotent. So we have taken H1 cross H2 cross H3 and so on up to Hn minus 1. This direct product is nilpotent. Here each Hi is nilpotent. Now to prove that the direct product of n nilpotent groups is nilpotent, now by induction, direct product of n minus 1 nilpotent groups is nilpotent, and also Hn is nilpotent group by the first step, because direct product of two nilpotent groups is nilpotent. So direct product of this nilpotent group with Hn, that will be nilpotent. So we can say that direct product of n nilpotent groups is nilpotent. So this completes the proof of the theorem. Now, next there is a result that we will use in the next theorem. So you will have to keep in mind the statement of this theorem. If we have a group G, which is finite group, and H is a subgroup of G, such that there exists a silo P subgroup GP having the property that normalizer of this silo P subgroup is contained in H, then normalizer of H is same as H. We will use this result in the next theorem. Now, our next theorem is G is a finite group. Then we have to prove that the following conditions are equivalent. The first condition is G is nilpotent group. Second condition is all the maximal subgroups of G are normal. Third condition, all the silo P subgroups of G are normal. Fourth condition, elements of co-prime order in G commutes. Fifth condition, G is direct product of its silo P subgroups. We have to prove that these 5 conditions are equivalent. Now, 1 implies 2. This condition we have already discussed. So, you will do the proof of this part from there. Now, let us prove second implies third. In the second part, we are given that all the maximal subgroups of G are normal, and we are to prove that all the silo P subgroups of G are normal. So let us take an arbitrary silo P subgroup of G. We have denoted by GP. We are to prove that this GP is normal in G. It means we are to prove that normalizer of GP is same as G. We prove it by contradiction method. Let if possible, normalizer of GP is not equal to G. Now because G is a finite group, so there will exist a maximal subgroup, say M of G, such that normalizer of GP will be contained in M. Now because M is maximal subgroup of G, so M is not equal to G. It means M is properly contained in G. Now let us combine these two equations. So we get normalizer of GP is contained in M and M is properly contained in G. Now because normalizer of GP is contained in M and GP is silo P subgroup, G is finite group. So by the last result we can say that normalizer of M will be same as M. Now because M is maximal and by given condition all the maximal subgroups of G are normal, so M is normal in G, and therefore normalizer of M is equal to G. Combining these two, we get M is equal to G. But this is a contradiction because M is properly contained in G. So this contradiction proves that our assumption is wrong. It means GP is normal subgroup of G. So this proves that all the silo P subgroups of G are normal. So this proves 2 implies 3. Now the remaining parts of this theorem we will discuss tomorrow.